Green Lantern boldly goes where no one has gone before, except not really because it's a crossover. And it's also time to cross my fandom streams. I'm very excited. This has been a long time coming. It's a big moment. Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes, truly wherever our whims take us. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of me exploring crossovers. If you've been on this channel for a while, you'll know that I love Star Trek, I love crossovers, and I love the Green Lantern mythos, particularly if Hal is tripping over something. This crossover, Spectrum War, gave me 3 of those things. Sadly, no tripping. We're doing it. We're going to a world where Hal Jordan is going to meet Captain Kirk, the new timeline version from the Abrams movies, the rebootverse, which adds another layer of humor because there was a rumor for years that he got offered the role of Green Lantern before it went to Ryan Reynolds. And even though it's been debunked, it still persists. So it's almost a Chris meets Chris fun. And you know what else is fun? Playing games on your phone. Thanks to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this video. Star Trek Fleet Commander is a story-driven game where you get to play in the Star Trek universe. And you get to interact with some of your favorite characters. Do you like the original series, the Next Generation? Maybe you're more of an Abrams-verse kind of person, the reboot-verse, or even Kurtzman's Discovery. Whatever you're into, this game is something for you if you're a Trek fan. Now, I'm not gonna pretend I've been playing it my whole life or anything like that. No, they reached out to me, and so then I started playing it, and I'm having a good time with it. Star Trek Fleet Command is a strategy MMO where your choices matter. Star Trek Fleet Command is free to play on iOS and Android. Use my link in the description below to download. You can explore an open world, and there's real-time combat. The way you play, it's up to you. You can have a more chill experience. You can get really into it and start kind of role-playing yourself. You can do things like go on away missions or forge alliances, try to conquer the multiverse. There's also different events each month to keep the story going. You can unlock unique and iconic characters, and they can alter how your ship functions, and depending on how you want to play, you might want to unlock certain people. Of course, it's a mobile game, so there are in-app purchases. Just be aware of that. There are some really fun, nerdy features for this one. For example, when you boot it up, you get the classic Trek theme. Can you hear it? See, it's doing it. I'm probably gonna get copyright claim. That always gets me hyped because that theme is my childhood. I also like that the characters actually look how they're supposed to look, which is not something you always get. It's just another fun Trek thing to me, and it might be something that you might enjoy as well. And again, while there are in-app purchases, it is free to play. And again, you can download on iOS and Android, so you don't need to be left out. And as always, the link is down below because there's no other choice as to where I could put it. With all that said, let's set course and engage with this crossover. Can you tell that it's been building up for a while? Star Trek Green Lantern Spectrum War, The Spectrum War, was a 6-issue miniseries published through IDW in 2015. It was written by Mike Johnson with art by Angel Hernandez. Johnson has written for both DC and Star Trek, and it shows. The canon's pretty tight, and the characters are on point for the new universe, which depending upon your feelings about that will be a positive or a negative. Now this kind of takes place in an alt universe for both. You'll see. Get ready. All ahead, impulse power. I'm sorry, it's just this level of nerddom, I keep it contained most of the time, but I'm bursting at the seams. The crossover event of 2015, depending on who you talk to, I guess. This series does not have the strongest cover for its first issue, at least not for the main. It has some very solid variants though. The strongest ones, in my opinion, play upon the original series. I know, I'm a snob. Like this Tribbles cover with Hal creating a bunch of Tribbles and doing duckface for reasons. This one, where they're drawing a la Shatner and Nimoy, warmed my heart. And they also use the more classic Green Lantern mask design for this one, which is a nice touch. Neil Adams did a cover where it looks like Hal is about to unhinge his jaw and eat them. I'm very concerned. Now the main cover is decent. The background figures of Ganthet and General Chang are very solid and cool looking, and Hal looks intimidating, but the main Enterprise crew looks a little cartoonish and just less grand than the rest. But it does let you know what you're gonna see in this crossover, including General Chang, which if you're me, get excited. Star Trek 6, underrated in my opinion. Everybody talks about 2, Wrath of Khan, which they should because it's great, but Undiscovered Country is really good too. Christopher Plummer Klingon, come on. Eye patch, just everything about it, so good. Oh, also shout out to this cover, the simplistic yet effective one of the Enterprise crossing the Green Lantern symbol. We open on Ganthet of the Guardians of Oa, so you know that it's gonna be rough because it's almost never a good time to be Ganthet. If we spotlight Ganthet on his own, it's like, uh-oh, things are about to go wrong. He's fleeing across the surface of the planet and also Lantern Mogo, who's dead. He's got what our dark narration boxes identify as the last rings.
Your fellow Guardians are now ashes flowing across the cosmos.
You think you've won?
I too. I have.
But Ganthet says not today, or rather yesterday, but not in this universe. Ganthet says he goes to preserve all life forms, and also where our villain, who will later be revealed to be Necron, cannot follow. Necron is the personification of death itself, the wielder of the Black Rings. He'll never find me. The end! Of course not, it's a filthy lie. Now we're in the Star Trek universe. So this is one of those crossovers where we get to see how the universes collide, and it's explained. The Enterprise is exploring near the edge of the Alpha Quadrant, but they found something. It's a big rock. I refuse to give Pine full Shatner voice. only a little bit for him. But also, don't worry about that opening salvo of a line. Why would you be worried? Let me explain. It at first seems like they're going to lean into the Kirk as a rogue who doesn't take things seriously, which the rebootverse definitely leaned into at points, which was, in the view of some, a flaw that made Kirk seem like a more irresponsible character than he had been in the other timeline, where yes, he was friendly and approachable and could come across as cavalier, but when it came down to brass tacks, was serious, dependable, and someone who took his oath seriously. A good example of this is the different ways they convey the cheating of the Kobayashi Maru, which is supposed to be a test where the student is forced to face a no-win scenario. Everybody's gonna die. Kirk cheats his way through it and makes it so that they win. The rebootverse gives it more of a screw the rules kind of move, but in the classic canon, it's more a I don't believe in a no-win scenario style move, a stubborn belief in the ability to persevere versus lol, I'm eating an apple. Anyway, despite this opening, we veer more towards the responsible Kirk. He's just a bit more jokey. They've detected something on this rogue planet, which means they need to beam down with one of those away teams that will totally mess up the entire order of the ship if people get hurt. So let's send Kirk, Spock, the captain and the first officer, Uhura, and somebody who's gonna be fine because it's the rebootverse, so that means that's not red shirts and the away people are normally fine. Spock, let's just enjoy the chance to stretch our legs. Yeah, Uhura's pretty underutilized in this. She's pretty much Spock's girlfriend. Now, some claim that their relationship is entirely an invention of the rebootverse, and that there's no precedence. To that I say,
I'm an illogical woman who's beginning to feel too much a part of that communications council. Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady? Or ask me if I've ever been in love. Tell me how your planet Vulcan looks on a lazy evening when the moon is full.
I'm detecting precedence, Captain. Be that as it may, there's a lot more to her, and you don't always get to see that in the reboot timeline, unfortunately. They find Ganthet's corpse, and of course the rings around it. It would appear there is organic life here, after all. So what you're saying is, it's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not really, but who else loved that song and remembers the Newgrounds video? I do. Now they're baffled by the rings, and so they decide to take them back and examine them. If nothing else, they'll make great souvenirs. Well, he's dead, Jim. 10 out of 10. Crossover event of the year. Confirmed. Acclaimed. Now Scotty's been able to determine that the rings are some kind of energy conduit, but he can't exactly figure out how yet. And as he's examining them, they activate, which of course happens just as the Klingons show up. It's always Klingons. James Tiberius Kirk. At last. Yes, more people need to say Kirk's full name because it's great. I would just go by Tiberius or JT to mess with people. This is supposed to be their first meeting, which is nice because it goes differently. Let's take another sidebar, which is going to happen a bunch through this because my Trekness, it's overflowing. One of the interesting things about having a parallel universe is the ability to see events unfold differently or to have characters have unique relationships that may be similar or completely veer off. It's why it's so disappointing what happened in Into Darkness, the second one, where not only did they miscast Khan, but they had a setup to create a completely new dynamic and they squandered it. Instead, we got anything can be different in the different universes except Khan. Khan is always evil. I'm not over it, and I'll never be over it. Forever bitter. Where's my salt? This does not happen here, obviously, because it's a Green Lantern crossover. You know where it's going. The rings attach themselves to people. Just as the Klingons are about to attack for honor and hating Kirk for reasons. It's kind of a nice callback to 6. Remember that really powerful moment in 6? Maybe not. If you've never seen it, I'll tell you about it. There's a scene where Kirk admits he can't let go of his biases against Klingons, even as they're trying to move forward as a society because of his own personal history with them, and he has to overcome it. 6 is so good. Anyway, sorry, rings. Also, the Enterprise is encased in a big green shield. Chekhov gets a blue ring, Uhura gets a pink, McCoy gets an indigo, and Chang gets a yellow. I know, shocking. He was super mad at Kirk as well, so I feel like red would also have been appropriate, but the plot needs it to be yellow, and it works just as well thematically, so let's go. Also, yes, they write in Chekhov's accent. Moose and squirrel accent for life. Nice ship. Nice pose, Hal. Posing takes us to the end of issue 1. Issue 2! Is this cover an mock time homage? What is happening here? It looks like Kirk is so gracefully caressing Hal's wrist. I don't know why I'm so fixated on that, but my eyes are drawn to it. Fear is power. Ancient Klingon proverb. Why yes, please, more Klingon. There also are some Klingon lines in this, so if you speak Klingon, because it's a real language, yes, Trekkies are big nerds. There's even an argument whether we should be called Trekkies or Trekkers. Yeah, fun. Hal is sustaining the Enterprise while they restore power, but he also wants to know why Ganthet's corpse is on board. Uhura's uniform has not been upgraded by having the Star Sapphire logo on it. Chekhov gets right into it fast. He loves his ring. Oh, also Hal suddenly starts going on about how whenever a yellow ring finds a bearer, he can feel it like a shock, but to the finger, quick, mostly painless, but unpleasant. Kinky. Also, really, every time? Just you or everyone? Chang unlocked his ring's potential instantly. Why do they even train people? Clearly it's plug in and go technology. I snipe, but this panel is cool. Hal is left to wonder what I was also wondering. Where did the other rings go? Who are they gonna attach to? So where are our rings going? We have Gorn. Glowcon of Gornar, a disgruntled and dissatisfied Gorn, gets chosen for the red ring. We've got to keep that monstrous rep going for the Red Lanterns. I know these Gorn look more credible, but I will always have a soft spot for ridiculous classic Gorn. Hello, me from the future. We're talking about Gorn, and then I was at the store the other day and something happened I have to show you. Look at this. It's a Gorn. It's a 14-inch Gorn, but it gets better. It gets so much better. Hold on. It's Kirk. It's Kirk. It's Kirk and a Gorn. It's Kirk and a Gorn. At some point, I'm gonna make these two fight each other. It's gonna happen. Also, because I'm forever the worst, I did not actually set up my copy of Spectrum War, which I have over there because I got seduced by Blackset. But I have it. Here it is. Spectrum War. Nice trade.
Nice trade.
I always stroke the trade. Why? You will also be happy to see that Hal's constructs remain corny in the Alpha Quadrant. Looks like our new friend is taking a beating out there. Sulu, arm photon torpedoes. But again, no training required. Chekhov's tapped into the hope, and so he's able to fire some of those photons. Blue hope photons. Kirk disengages because he doesn't want to start an intergalactic incident, and Hal accuses him of running from a fight, even though he has no idea what's going on. But he still has time to sass. The orange ring ends up with Decius on Romulus, and I have to say this. Are the Ferengi all dead? Because in what universe is a Romulan gonna get the greed ring over a Ferengi? Yeah, I know, it's different timeline, different things, but how fun would that be? There should be a rule of acquisition about this. Permission to come aboard before I do it anyway. He just kind of phases in, even though Kirk offers to beam him in. In a detail that rang very true, Hal and Kirk rub each other the wrong way, which makes sense because they have similar personality types. The type that, yeah, they could gel really well or just set each other off. Also, Hal comes in with his chest puffed all the way out. That doesn't help. Some brief discussion leads them to realize that Hal's from another universe, which I mean is nothing new for this crew. Must be Tuesday. I do like that McCoy got the compassion ring. He always was a big softy under the gruff exterior. You really see it in an episode like, say, The Empath, where they're being tortured and he goes to sacrifice himself. The empath touches him and is overwhelmed by all the love he has for his friends. This feels very apt. Enough of that. Chang just straight up murders the council. Well, that's gonna unbalance things, change the universe a little bit. But he doesn't get a chance to do more than get halfway through a good villain monologue before Sinestro shows up. End part 2. Part 3 may have one of my favorite covers of the lot. It has nothing to do with anything, but it has more wrist grasps. This time Lar flees on Spock. In this one, we open on Hal explaining the last light. It's supposed to be an escape clause for the end of the universe, because you always need a plan B. You can combine the power rings apparently to rip a hole in space and time. I mean, why not? Hal accidentally turned Tom into a seagull once. I'll buy anything. If Hal will still sell that ring for $1, I'll buy one of those. Theoretically, the last light is supposed to pull every surviving lantern in with it. So you may be wondering, just how was the DC universe ending? Necron, raising armies of the dead, only winning this time, unlike last time. Now you may be wondering, why were they sent to different places? Shh. This effort or something, dramatic plot. Ganthet likes drama. Hal gets all testy about his ring, I guess because he's on a starship and needs to posture a bit more. I mean, the Enterprise is pretty cool. I'd feel a bit insecure too. It's an alien computer designed by the Guardians of the Universe, more advanced than anything you'll find on a starship. Flagship, actually, and you'd be surprised. Hal also explains the emotion spectrum so we can segue over to the bad emotions, the negative emotions. Only positive vibes on the Enterprise. Atrocitus, of course, manifests by his ring and allies with the Gorn. All these villains are just annihilating the ruling structures of their planets. Our Gorn friend is murdering his family. On Romulus, the whole Senate is taken out. It is time for a Cardassian power play. And the Ferengi for being ignored. Oh shoot, Deez just became the Phoenix, run! He recreates the Senate, but Lar Flees shows up. So this issue is basically villains get organized into groups. Sinestro and General Chang strike up an alliance, even though Sinestro is more angling to rebuild his core than anything else, but he feels some kinship with the Klingon attitude. Okay, just one more. Just one more bout of Kirk and Hal sniping at each other. The fireworks are impressive, Mr. Jordan, but this isn't the time for Captain Jordan. We have the same rank, so call me Captain, or Captain Jordan, or just Jordan. Okay, good. Now tell him you want me remembered for the planes you flew. Kirk opts for Jordan, because of course he does. Can you imagine being on the bridge and listening to this? Star Sapphires and St. Walker show up, and Walker is wounded, but McCoy says that he'll be fine. The ring says so. You really defer to that pretty quick. And Carol tells them that Necron has followed them. See, I told you Ganthet was lying. Necron followed them fine. Necron is on Vulcan, which was destroyed in this reality, so get ready for zombie Vulcans. Get excited. Issue 4, pretty cool cover. Necron hovering over the Enterprise with his scythe. His blue heart, the same color as the cells on the ship. You love to see it. We get more backstory on the final stand of the DC universe here. They discuss how Necron is a being of pure entropy, which makes Spock fascinated, and he postulates that maybe that means there must be an entity like this in every universe. And then it gets weird. My handsome friend is correct. Who are you, Lois? I mean, I know it's Spock, but contain yourself. Uhura then gets to be a jealous girlfriend. Oh joy. Now this comic has some sad news for you. A few days ago, time recording, I posted a selfie variant for this series, and some of you asked, where's Kyle? Kyle was an integral part of being Necron the first time. He should be here. Well, that's why in this crossover, Kyle's dead. They killed Kyle. Those bastards. Necron took Kyle out first because he could harness all the emotion spectrum and become a White Lantern again. Hal also brings more bad news. Necron destroyed the power batteries. So how will they recharge their rings? But if Walker lives, then maybe he can keep them charged. Okay, hold up. All of the batteries or just the Green Lantern ones? Because Larfleeze had his. And I think Sinestro can just make another one. Quard and stuff. Also, last issue you said St. Walker was gonna be fine. All will be well. If we couldn't stop Necron with the combined might of all the Court, the odds are even lower now. A no-win scenario, Jordan? You've come to the right ship. Love that line. Just the right amount of Kirkness. Larfleeze allies with Decius, which is a bit hard to swallow, but it's under the promise that they can take over the Quadrant and it will all be his. So yeah, all the villains have pretty much the same plan. I am a fan of Decius also having the ring symbols on his forehead ridges. 10 out of 10 fashion choice. Star Sapphire offers to train Uhura, but she says no, she has a job to do. I mean, also nobody else seems to need training. Chekhov can take over the universe at this point, I think. The Red Lanterns have launched an offensive on Starbase 12, so they head there, and the panel of them attacking the base, very nice to look at. Not for the people on the base though, RIP. Same with this panel, the Sinestro Corps showing up with a fleet of charged Klingon battlecruisers, and then Hal shows up. The paneling in this issue, mwah. Kirk tries to engage, but Sinestro uses his ring to show them their worst fears, knocking them all out. Conveniently, all their worst fears involve the Enterprise being destroyed because of their unique failings. This is mostly so that Hal can take over and he gets to sit in the captain's chair. I mean, they do have the same rank. It's totally the same thing, captain in the Air Force, captain of his starship, why not? Transferable skills. His construct is a bigger version of the ship over top of the existing ship. It's on issue 5 time. Zombie Vulcans. The cover. Kirk looks more impressed than stunned. Like, ooh, zombies. The battle rages on and Hal gets Uhura to revive the crew using her love power. And Kirk, of course, wants his chair back. He says it's comfortable, which I have a hard time believing. Also, remember how St. Walker was fine? Now Bones is struggling to keep him alive. I guess fine has multiple meanings in this timeline. Larfleeze is in the battle now, and there's a great panel of him creating hand constructs and trying to grab the starships. Of course, our 3 villain factions can't get along. Hal tries to reason with Sinestro by pulling him into a chokehold to tell him that Necron followed them. Sinestro is not in the mood for humoring Hal though and tries to take him out, and then more reinforcements arrive. Kilowog, John, and Guy. You know, the first time I did that take, I said Kyle, even though I knew he was dead. I was so hopeful. Kyle. Nice. Were they chilling the whole time, just watching and waiting like, now is the opportune time. Also, Vulcan has been resurrected at this point, and the starbase has been evacuated, so Kirk proposes a withdrawal, regroup, and ultimately to go to Vulcan. Cause it's personal, not just because he is the only people who have dealt with Necron on board with him. Scotty has managed to recreate a kind of duplicate ring at this point, which they have Sulu test so he can get in on some ring action. Still ain't the real thing. Stay classy, guy. They arrive at Undead Vulcan to do battle with Necron. Time for issue 6. We gotta wrap it up fast. We got 1 issue. 6 is one of those, these are all the people who are in this covers. Of course, one of the zombies is Spock's mom, Amanda. Dang, John's not playing around with his construct. Kirk wants to know if they can be saved, but Hal says no. It's too late. Now remember last issue how St. Walker was barely hanging on, they were trying to keep him alive? Well, here he is to join the fight, he's fine. Guess the first assessment was the right one. They try to destroy Necron from space with the Enterprise, but it doesn't work because, well, he's the personification of death. No, they need someone who can wield all of the emotional spectrum at the same time. Harness it, and they actually have one person who can do that. Kirk figures it out, Spock. Now this is a move that's gonna land for some and not for others. This for me lands, even though it would have landed even harder with Spock Prime. The idea being that Spock has spent his whole life learning to control and suppress his emotions. So from one way of looking at it, he would be intimately in touch with them, in tune with them, constantly having to keep them at bay. There is also a canonical fact that Vulcans actually felt more deeply than humans as a result. Now some may feel this doesn't track and that Spock should be not really in tune with them, disconnected because his whole thing is pushing them aside. For me it landed. Tell me what you think. Also, yes, the rings got sucked off of Chang, Decius, and Gorn, whose name I forgot, in space, and yes, they died. RIP. I'm sad about Chang. Great villain potential wasted. Miss his eye patch. Oh, and Sinestro allied with them at the end. Of course he did. Anything to try to show up Hal. So thanks to Spock, they were able to summon the life entity and defeat Necron. But the end result destroys Vulcan. Again. Poor Vulcan. This is not its timeline. So the remaining Lanterns are stuck in that Star Trek universe. Some stay aboard the Enterprise, and that's just okay, I guess. St. Walker and John do. Kilowog, Carol, and Guy off to explore the Federation, and the villains are off, lurking, being villainous. Scotty was able to mass replicate his version of the rings for phasers and personal force fields. That's a pretty huge deal that changes a lot of things. I mean, it's not not like when in Into Darkness they kind of accidentally cured death, and so they then had to walk it back, and by that I mean just never mention it again. And so we have a classic episode style ending where McCoy is teasing Kirk that he didn't get a ring, and Hal leads them out with Kirk calling him Captain Jordan and him calling him Captain Kirk, because they bonded. Fighting Necron will do that unless you're Sinestro. Never let go of that Hal hate. The end, until the sequel. Hooray! Wait, didn't they say it they couldn't charge their rings because the batteries were gone? I mean, Walker's there for the people on the ship. What about the other lanterns? Guys, I still have questions. This comic is a very fun crossover. If you're a fan of both of these mythoses, it's a treat. There are some very cool panels, and it makes sense the explanation they come up with as to how our heroes are meeting. The threat, while repetitious, is a good focus for such a short series. And the core characters feel in character and bounce well off of each other, even if I don't love the Spock-Uhura dynamic. That's a me thing, not the comic thing. There are some really cool character moments that played off of the characters' core traits, and the characters felt distinct, though the villains' plans didn't, but that was their plans, not them themselves. Each issue had a hook and a reason to come back, and there were rising tensions for both universes' characters, and everybody got to have a moment, or at least a line in there. The art also captured the movie likeness quite well for the most part. It even, despite all the action, had more of a Trek vibe than the overall rebootverse movies because it included all the political machinations that make up Star Trek. It also left the universe in shambles. My lord, the balance of power. Now, it is by no means a flawless masterwork. There are several details that don't exactly track. They're kind of loose, like the rings charging or Walker's ever-shifting health. Not to mention, why did Ganthet cross universes in the first place at all? And of course, there's the dramatic timing of things. Oh wow, it's Guy, John, and Kilowog. Again, I had to think really hard not to say Kyle. Never Kyle. The villains' motivations felt same-ish, and they all essentially went through the same scene. Get ring, kill ruling powers, be accosted by leader of the ring they wielded. The pacing starts off strong and does remain so. The only thing is that by the end, we only have one issue left to finish everything. So it can feel a bit anticlimactic because we only have those few pages to have the big Spock as a White Lantern scene. But you know what? I think it landed. My opinion. Miles may vary. It's a very strong Spock moment. Let's go with not strong moments. They don't make the most of the female characters. It's mostly Uhura. Star Sapphire is fine, except for that weird scene where she flirts with Spock for no reason, right after lamenting how their whole universe is dead and that they've brought the death with them. But hello, handsome. Who has time for that? Meow. If you don't know the canon of one or both of these worlds, it's a toss-up as to whether you'll enjoy it or not, or whether it'll make you want to seek out more. It's fun enough that I like to think they would make you do that. Overall, that's what this crossover is. It's fun and well balanced. A good amount of action and character moments. Definitely up there when it comes to crossover fare. Even just mini-series fare. Spectrum War is a good time. In my opinion, again, miles may vary. If you hated it, please tell me why. There are reasons to. It may have felt boring and tired to you, or again, you may not have an affinity for the rebootverse or Green Lantern, or Hal's chest. Man, was it standing up and saluting. Speaking of Star Trek and Green Lantern, there was a bit of an Easter egg in issue 90 back in 1976. This is when it was a Hal and Ollie team-up book. On page 2, there's a lantern that looks like Spock who does a Vulcan salute. It's just kind of there, it's cute. Hal spends most of that issue tied up, but it's okay because his ring can be his hands. Just like here, it can be a giant version of the Enterprise. What do you think of this crossover? Let me know down below. What color of the emotion spectrum would your ring be? I mean, mine would be red. Are you a Trek fan? Do you feel that people got the right rings? Please share your thoughts down below and nerd out with me in the comments. Nerd with me. Thanks so much to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this video. And thank you for taking some time today spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it. And please do the YouTube thing, subscribe, like, again, comment, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.